Welcome back to another episode of The Sit Down. Today we are in the beautiful city of Houston, Texas, one of the largest cities in the world. And I am sitting down today with the general manager of the Herman Park Golf Club. This is going to be an exciting show. This is going to be an exciting episode, and it's definitely a first for the mental coach. So stay tuned and grab your popcorn, grab whatever you need, but enjoy the show. It's going to be a great one. Welcome, Maulana, and thank you so much for sitting down with me to talk mental health and athletes from your perspective today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So, Maulana, take us on a journey from you growing up playing sports to where you are today.
So this journey started about probably 32 years ago. Um, and I was kind of thrown into it. I didn't really play a lot of sports growing up. My dad was a golfer.
Okay.
And so he wanted my brothers and I to learn how to play golf. So that was just part of us. I was about 11, 12 years old. My brothers played football, basketball. They did everything else growing up, but I didn't do sports. But at 11, my dad was like, "Oh, I'm gonna teach you how to play golf." So it was definitely a rocky journey because I did not like it.
Mhm.
Did not like golf at all. And probably 4 to 5 years after that is when it finally kicked in, and I finally started to like the sport. So that journey was back and forth. It's kind of rough with my
Mhm.
dad because I guess he saw something in me. He's like, "You're gonna play golf and you can do this," but I struggled.
Mhm.
I struggled. Didn't want to play, didn't want to practice. But once I finally realized that I'm good, I
Mhm.
can play this, and then I really start getting the interest and starting to try to work on my game. Um, and then from there, I was all in. I think part of that though was golf is a very intimidating sport, that you don't see a lot of black people playing.
Mhm.
So he started teaching me how to play. There were no other black kids playing. So we would go to the golf course and it's just me and my dad and literally no other black people. So it's definitely an uncomfortable space. And so trying to manage that at 12, 13 years old, you're trying to hit balls or go play and you don't know who you're playing with, it's just a
Mhm.
lot that
Mhm.
goes with that. Um, and then the confidence part of it, like I don't belong here. This is not, what we do or what. Um, and so getting over that, once I got over that, then it was a different ballgame. I won a high school tournament that kind of turned the light bulb on. I'm like, oh, I'm really good.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
beat all these girls.
Uh-huh.
And so from that point, that's when my mindset changed about the sport. Um, I earned a scholarship to college. I played at Bethune-Cookman University. Played pretty well on the team. I won a national collegiate championship, national minority collegiate championship my senior year. And then from there, I went on to try to play professional golf. So I took that route for a few years. Didn't work out like I planned or like I would liked. So then I went a different direction and started working in the golf industry.
Okay. All right. All right. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And so during your journey, I know you kind of touched on it just a little bit in what you were just saying, but during your journey to get to where you are now, or even just when you were playing, was mental health something that was discussed during that time?
A little bit as I got older. So when you first start playing, your focus is on I need to hit the ball. I want to play. I want to hit the ball. I want to hit it far. I want to hit it on the green. And then as my golf skills started to get better, that's when my dad kind of shifted that. Started talking to me mentally. You hit the ball good. What's wrong? Why you get on the golf course and you fall apart. So we
Mhm.
started having those conversations. He took me to a sports psychiatrist once.
Okay.
Um, and it went over my head at the time. I just it didn't register, what she was trying to get me to do. And I just didn't understand it. I was all about, no, I got to hit the golf ball. I need to hit it close, and didn't understand it. Um, but as I got older and I started teaching the game, that's when I really understood, how important the mental aspect of it was. Even playing, your coach will try to give you tips. One time in the tournament, I had a meltdown. I had literally had a meltdown in the tournament, and I didn't understand what was going on at the time. But afterwards, and after I got older, I realized, what happened. But they didn't have the tools, for us at that point, to know how to handle that and how to recover, how to bounce back and continue to play. Like I had to stop playing. And so now that once I began to teach the game and understood a lot more and studying and reading, I understood, the mental aspect of that. Um, and so that's important, with kids, them understanding or having tips to be able to help them recover, when it doesn't go like they planned or what they were looking for.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. And then along with that, you mentioned that your dad, played golf, and then you had your brothers that played other sports. And with you being the only girl, like, did you feel any pressure to like make sure that you were, this top-notch like golfer,
Yeah.
just in that aspect?
Once I got into the game, once I'm like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm going to do, yeah, then I felt it. Before, it was just kind of like I was doing it more because my dad wanted me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But once I kind of took ownership of my game and this is what I want to do, yeah. Because now eyes on you. You start winning events, winning tournaments. People are like, oh, what do you know?
Mm-hmm.
You start expecting it, and you got to figure out, okay, what happens when I don't play well, when um, shoot, my thing was how can I just stay focused that entire round, and then if you have multiple rounds, you got to be able to do that 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's a lot that behind that. It is.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And so with you, with your knowledge that you have of playing the game of golf, how would you maybe compare your journey with golf and just your mindset in general with now you being in a role to where you're teaching it? Like,
Mhm.
how do you compare how you learn the game and how you respected the game versus the kids or youth maybe that you encounter today?
So one part of that, huge part of that, is understanding the child's thought process, what they're thinking and how they're feeling. That wasn't when I was learning the game. My dad didn't care. You're
Yeah.
gonna do this. This is what you're gonna do. He didn't care how I felt, or what I was thinking. You just need to perform.
Mhm.
And so understanding that, understanding what the child is or the junior is in their mind or in their game and what they want to do, helps you to help prepare them for what they need to do, or to improve. And so I think that's first, just getting an understanding of what do you want to do? How good do you want to be?
Mhm.
What are you looking to get out of this? Um, and once that's established and y'all on the same page there, you can better help them understand what they need to do to get the results they want. And understanding that, okay, yeah, I have to read this book, or I need to do these tips, or I need to study, or I need to focus on this. It makes the process a little bit easier. It's still tough, but it makes it a little bit easier because you're on the same page.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's great that you touch on that because I know you see it. I know I definitely see it. The youth of today, most of them, just kind of want, things handed to them, they don't want to work hard for it. And a lot of that is due to social media, and so what are your tips, if any, that you could give like, any youth that are, watching this episode or they have maybe hit like maybe a mental block in their game and they're trying to figure out how to get back into, the game. Like, what are your tips to help them navigate that social media
Yeah, so
world?
because of social media, you can have a little contact with that person, like if you sending DMs and you follow
Hmm.
that person. I always try to figure out, okay, I'll let them know, well, there's more to what you see, and if they can get in contact with that person or somebody that's been there to ask them, what was it like? You
Hmm.
know, how many hours did you practice a week? When you were playing hidden balls, you went to the driving range every day, how long were your practices? How did you recover when this happened to you? When
Hmm.
you played bad, what did you do? Just for them to understand that they're not by themselves, they're not in this bubble, that
Hmm.
other people have done it, and that you see where this person is, and on social media, you don't see the good parts,
Right, right,
so
right.
understanding that this is just the best of the best that you're seeing. You know, you
Mhm.
didn't see them when they, broke their club because they was mad or they chunked
Mhm.
it or whatever, you know. And so being able to have that real conversation and understanding that there's other parts to this, you know. And so I always tell the girls, read. If it's a pro that they follow online, try to study. Uh, a lot of them put some things out, that kind of show them working hard or their work ethic, um, to just understand what it takes. And it's not all just, oh, let me go do this and I'm gonna be successful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's amazing. Absolutely. And so you also, again, being in the role of teaching, how important is for the youth that you teach to have support, like whether it's from family or just close friends or even teachers, you
Yeah,
know?
you gotta have a team. Like I've learned that as I've got older. Once I stopped trying to play professionally and started working, I understood or saw how the players that were successful, they have a team around them.
Hmm.
Like their focus is on them becoming successful. So they have somebody that's helping them financially. They have somebody that's a putting coach, a swing coach, a mental coach. Uh, they have a trainer, they have a nutritionist. They have everybody around for every area to help them become successful.
Hmm.
And that's a lot. That's you're on that elite level, but you got to start small. You and your parents got to be on the same page, and that's why it's
Absolutely.
important to talk and understand. Okay, what is it you want to do? You
Hmm.
know, because if you want to do this, then we gonna be all in, but you got the whole year in of it. Um, and I think that's important. I had a team. I did it. My parents were there, church members, especially when I started playing well and being successful. They were like, oh, what can we do to help? They'll slide a little bit here, or take care of this expense.
Hmm.
Um, I had a couple at my church buy me a set of golf clubs at least at the club. So it's different little things, that when people see that you are working and you're hard and you're into it, they'll support you. And so having a team is important. Uh, but I know that once you are in, you do need those different coaches. You need a mental coach, you need a trainer, you need a swing coach, you need a short game coach. Like you need those individual people.
Yes, absolutely. And that's all amazing. And one key thing that you just mentioned was those things will come. Like when you pour into yourself, and that's a lot of why, I enjoy, working with youth athletes for that reason, is just to teach them. Like it's not about when you become an adult, is when you need to pour into yourself. You got to pour into yourself now.
Yeah.
Because when you get to that point of, honestly, kind of like a crossroads, especially like high school seniors, when you graduate, it's like, okay, where do I go? Like, what do I do? And I think a lot of kids don't understand once you get to that point, it's easy to say, I'm gonna go play pro golf one day.
Yeah.
Like it's great to have that dream, but it's about the work that you do in between that to get to that point.
And understanding, and this is where I met with a couple girls. When you move to that next level, everybody at that level's good. Everybody's, you're the
Hmm.
top in high school, now you're in college. Everybody that's in college was the top in high school.
Yeah.
You're moving to that next level. Everybody that's there was good where they were.
Uh-huh.
And so that kind of keeps pushing you to understand, okay, I gotta keep working, I gotta keep at this because I want to keep elevating.
Hmm.
You can't get to a level, stop and think you're there. That's
Right.
not gonna, it's not gonna work. So it's interesting, just dealing with kids and them thinking they're invincible. I can do this,
Oh, yes.
and
Yes.
they having
Yes.
to realize, yeah, you gonna fall, you gonna run somebody. It's always somebody better.
Hmm.
It's always somebody better. And it's nothing wrong with talking to them, asking questions, or watching. And my dad was big on that. We would go to terms and he'd be like, just watch,
Hmm.
you know, just watch. And he might grab a couple of them and talk to and see, and have me talk to them and just trying to understand what it takes.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then that brings me to my next question. Injuries. How often do you see injuries in the world of golf?
I've only seen a couple with the girls that I've been working with. I've worked with in the past, and that does have a huge effect. Um, and that's where the confidence, like, okay, so I'm here. What do I need to kind of build back up? And getting past that mental block of I don't want to feel like not a victim, but like a self, uh, what the word I want to say, like they're just out of, they're just
Hmm.
blaming themselves. Oh, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
self-pity
yeah,
and
self pity.
mhm.
Yeah, and getting over that. You gotta be a fighter. you know.
Right.
So if the doctor says you can come back and you just have to do this and you got to take the time, you just got to follow those steps.
Hmm.
I had one girl in particular that injured herself, and she did, you know, she was just like, oh, I'm out, and it was her ankle, and she couldn't walk for a while, she couldn't swing, couldn't put weight on the left foot, left leg. And so once they started getting stronger and she realized, oh, okay, I'm good, she was all back into it.
Hmm.
So it just took a little bit of getting over there, realizing that I could get past it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a lot of the reason why I, like to ask that question specifically with golf, just because, there are, some youth out there that don't either they forget that you can get injured playing golf.
Mhm.
Um, and I do think it's because it's not as much of a physical contact sport
Yeah,
versus basketball and, even
yeah,
football or soccer or anything like that. And so I definitely just, wanted to touch on that just because it's not that it can't happen. I mean,
yeah.
and you do have to, know how to push past that.
And it's a sport, so you got to train. You
Yes.
know, if you think about it, you swing in a golf club 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, you
Hmm.
know, on your back
Hmm.
and your left leg and left knee. So that impact is hitting that body in the same spot every time you swing the club. Or the flexibility, you know, you got to be flexible to get the rotation that you need. So which is good now. A lot of kids understand they have to work out. Like that's one thing in golf that's kind of changed. People
Hmm.
realize they realize, oh, it's a sport. I got to work out.
Yeah.
And so that helps, you know, that injury from happening. Well, it helps to prevent injuries, but um, I think a lot more kids are understanding that.
Hmm.
The girls on the high school team, like they work out. They go to the gym in the morning, they're working out for practice, which is good, you
Hmm.
know, just makes them stronger, makes them more flexible, you know, better competitor.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. That's great. And so I know that you have created an organization for young girls to learn the game of golf. And it is called Journey Through 18.
Yes.
And so would you talk a little bit about that and kind of what your thoughts were, or maybe even just your drive to even just create something like that?
So Journey through 18 was really created just off of my experience in golf. So like I said, when I first started, there were no girls, no
Mhm.
black girls playing. You know, I go to a tournament, only black girl there. I didn't make any friends because the girls are looking at you like, what you doing here? You
Yeah,
know,
who are
just that.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that whole years of that, you
Mhm.
know. And so the LPGA USGA has a program called Girls Golf. So
Mhm.
that's their national program.
Mhm.
So they try to find different golf courses or pros to host a site. And so when I lived in Dallas, I tried it a couple years, didn't really get as big as I wanted, you know, only had a few girls. And so when I moved here, I was like, I think I want to try girls golf again, you
Mhm.
know. And so just using it as a way to get girls to play golf, but I said, okay, it needs to be a little bit bigger. Like I need to be able to tie golf into other things. And so I started Journey Through 18 because I wanted this community for Black girls, you know, to come, be able to come together and learn how to play golf and make friends.
Mhm.
So I come to this class, you know, once a week or whenever we have class, and there's three other girls that look like me that are playing too.
Mhm.
12, 13, 14, you know, 7, 8, 9, whatever the age is. So I could talk to you, you know, we can go hit balls together, we can putt together, and now I have a friend that plays golf.
Mhm.
And so if we are pushing each other, we're playing together, we're having fun, that can turn into us playing tournament golf, competitive golf, getting on a high school team. I got a friend for life now that plays golf.
Yes.
And so that was my whole thought process behind it because I was lonely, you know. I was
Mhm.
by myself. I didn't want to do it, you know, it just wasn't fun in the beginning. And so trying to have this community of girls where they can learn together to make it fun, you know, that can help grow the game, you know. And so that was the whole thing about it. And so it's Journey Through 18 because I want the girls to start playing golf. So we're supporting them and trying to help them learn to play the game to play 18 holes.
Mhm.
And the program runs through the age of 18. So it's a play on 18 holes and 18. So
Wow.
they're journey through 18.
I love that. I love that. And I personally want to thank you for creating something like that because I know how important it is. I will tell you just even my personal experience. Golf was not something that was discussed even in my home. I did not know any golfers, any especially any black golfers.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm gonna minimize a little bit like not definitely not any black female golfers.
Yeah.
So to just know that you have created something like that for young girls, specifically, targeting obviously our black community, I think that that is amazing. I really, really do.
And it's funny. It's not gonna say funny, but everybody.
Hmm.
That was my thought in the beginning when I started. But I guess the demand for golf for girls is just worldwide. You have a little bit of everybody. Very
Yeah.
diverse group. Um, for the 2024 season, have like 130 girls registered.
And
And
that's
all
growing.
ages. Yeah, and they are from 6 to 18. It's growing. The class we have 30, about 25 to 30 that come to class.
Hmm.
And so it's got so big I have to split the class now, so which is
Wow,
good. Yeah, which is
that's a good
good.
problem
Yeah,
to
which is
have.
good. But I'm happy that people see the value in it, and they're getting things from it. There's no charge to be a member. You just
Hmm.
register and you come to the activities. And so we try to plan social activities, anything golf related going in the city. The girls get access to that.
Hmm.
They get to practice. They get youth on course memberships. They get discounted green fees to go play at other courses. So we just try to provide resources that they need to help them learn golf and then to be able to play it.
Awesome. That is amazing. Amazing. And how receptive are the girls that are in
The program,
the
yeah,
program? Yes.
very receptive to the point that in the first year or so we did the program, we only met once a month.
Hmm.
And so just the demand for that, we gotta wait a whole nother month,
Hmm.
because I was just trying to put it together to grow it. But now we meet 3 6 week series. So we go 6 weeks at a time, take a little time off, another 6 weeks, take a time off, and they're coming. They're coming. And so it's growing so much that I now have had to split it. So now I have two classes
Hmm.
for 6 weeks. Um, and so I like it. I mean, the girls come in, they know the routine, they sign in, they get their name tag, they have a
Hmm.
seat. We go over our little I call it in class lesson
Hmm.
before we head out to the practice area. So yeah, it's very I'm enjoying it. The girls are enjoying it. The parents love it.
I
So I'm
bet.
hoping to get some golfers out here. They play on their high school team, might go to college.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, you saying that, that is something that I do want to be able to share, even with you, even though that's not something that I'm doing, personally. I do play golf, but I don't teach youth obviously to play golf, but I definitely like to spread the word of there's money out there
Yeah.
for you to go to school on golf scholarships. I mean, and that is something again, you're one of a few I see that are actually doing that and building, that confidence and building those players, like just honestly within having, that education piece before you actually get into that physical play is so important.
And the girls just knowing what's out there.
Hmm.
Just knowing, oh, golf can do this for me. Golf can open this door. Yes, golf can build bridges, open doors, do all of that. Even if you don't play in high school or play in college, just the fact that you're learning the game is going to put you on a higher tier.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to take a second to read something. And I know when I first seen it, it literally made me literally almost, I had chills, I know, but it was so exciting. But it says Maulana Dotch, PGA, becoming the first African American woman PGA member to serve as a general manager of a golf facility, which is Herman Park Golf Course, where we are today, and the second African American woman in America to earn her Class A PGA membership. How did it feel just seeing that in print and all over the
So
internet?
it really didn't hit me until I saw this, people start talking about it.
Hmm.
Because that process took me like 4 years to complete my PGA membership. And so once I finished and I went and got in, they had the
Hmm.
ceremony, and then it kind of hit me, I'm the second black woman to become a PGA member, and then it started like, man, that's pretty awesome, and then it's like, I don't know, it just didn't register with me at the time.
Hmm.
It
Kind of a
just really
surreal
didn't.
pinch me moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I felt like I'm just working. I'm going to work every day, and I want to get my membership, so I'm working. It's like going back to school all over again. So you leave work, and you go home, and you do work, you know.
Hmm.
And so once I got the membership, I was like, man, I was like, that's a big deal. I was like,
Very
that
big
is a
deal.
big deal. So I just kept working at the course I was, doing things, and then um, my boss at the time was like, there's a course in Houston that's looking for a GM. He's like, you should check it out. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I will. He came back a couple hours later. I was still at work. He's like, have you looked at it? I was like, no. He's like, I want to go look at it.
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I'll look at it. So then I did. And he's like, "You submitted your resume?" I was like, "I'm working on it."
Mm-hmm.
So I got my resume together, my cover letter, submitted it. Got a email back, said, "Hey, we would like to set up an interview," but just kind of going through that whole process. And then when I got the job, then that's when it's like, "Is there anybody? Is there another black person?" It's like, there's Renee Powell. Renee Powell owns her golf course.
Mm-hmm.
So she owns Clearview in Canton, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Her father built that course, so now her and her brother run it. So they're like owners, so they're not really a GM position. But we started looking into it, and it's like, oh, they're the first one. And
Yeah.
so I was like, wow. Well, so then, it kind of started uh, growing,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, and people were talking about it. And then I understood the importance of it, like what it meant and the responsibility that comes with it. Because now I'm like, okay, first thing I'm thinking about, okay, I have a golf course. I can do things. And so
Yep.
now I'm like, okay, I need to make some things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I started the foundation, and the activities, and the girls just trying to, because now I have the access.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a responsibility.
Yeah.
So now I got to make sure that I'm leading up to that responsibility. And so um, it means a lot. It does. The fact that it's in my hands and that um, I want to do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make an impression and uh, leave a mark and leave a legacy. It just all of that. It's important to me.
Mhm. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I want to personally, I know I've given you kudos before, but I want to give you kudos again because that is not an easy a easy thing to achieve,
Yeah.
and you've done it with grace, with poise, and just honestly, just even throughout all of this, you've still remained humble. So that is just a blessing, and it just speaks to who you are. Just honestly, just as a person first, before the athlete and before the general manager, before all the other great things that come after your name. So I want to again give you kudos for that because that is just amazing. And so before we wrap up, I want to just kind of let all of you know if you're in the Houston area, please come and check out Herman Park Golf Course. And most importantly, if you have some youth golfers out there that may not even know anything about golf, please bring them. Look up Maulana's information online. I know she's on Instagram, and just look up the program and see kind of if it would be a good fit. But for sure, just bring your girls out and give them the opportunity to just even be introduced to the game, because obviously we don't know and unless we introduce them as parents and as just adults in general. So thank you again so much for sitting down with me today. This was amazing. This was my very first episode with a golf pro and with a GM and all the things that you are. So thank you again for sitting down with me today to talk mental health and athletes from your perspective, and just, give us a little bit of insight of your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Thank you. I think it's good. I think just putting the knowledge out there and just letting people know, um, would definitely help because they're not by themselves. You're not the only person this happened to, and there's ways to, improve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you again. And I hope that this will be the first of many
Yes.
interactions that we have. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
What's up, everyone? It's Brooke Hogg, the mental coach, and I want to thank you for tuning into another episode of the Sit Down today. And I encourage you to like, follow, share, and subscribe. to my social media handles. And until next time, I want you to remember to not only take care of yourself physically, but to remember to also take care of yourself mentally. Thank you.